Hello and welcome to a video that I don't think many people would expect me to be putting out, but I don't really give you much for shit, to be honest. I'm happy to show what's going on, so when people send me messages, I try and respond. This live video is to show you my full bet loader, warts and all. Not going to go into it in too much depth, it's in absolutely every single bet, but you'll pretty much better see them all anyway. The idea is just to show you my position before the festival starts, and then who knows how it will pan across the rest of the week. Now, just off the top, this isn't me doing this for flexing or anything like that. You'll need to see what the figures prove in here anyway. But this is me to show it before the festival goes in. So you'll hear me talk about certain bets, maybe in previews and stuff, that maybe it is me showing off, maybe it is me flexing a little bit. But I just want to show in the full context of the way that I bet anti-post. Lots of people are very similar as well. So I expect that some people out there that have probably even got better positions than I'm in, to be fair to them. But I just like to be open and honest. I think it's fair if I'm going to be out there giving my opinion and talk about doing things that you guys get a real view of the stakes that I'm playing at, and everything else that's going on there. I have left an anti-up capture screen on this, which is annoying. So I might ruin it for the live bit, but I can change that after. But it doesn't really matter, does it? Because the reason you might be watching this is to see the bet loader. So anyone that is watching, I appreciate you watching. If not, I would leave it up live after. But we're going to go through my actual bet loader now, and I'll just talk through a few bits and pieces in there, so you know my position pre-festival. I don't know if I really want to update this as the week goes on and show you guys. Like, I don't mind, but whether it's worth it in your benefits. But obviously, at the end of the festival, I will do a summary of how much I've won or lost across the week. So this is a nice stepping stone to it. So without further ado, you should now be able to see my bet loader. A few people would have been sent this out. I say a few, good few got sent it, so appreciate you guys having a look at it. I mean, I built it for myself and a couple of mates. The fact that it helps a few people out as well along the way is handy. Won't go into it in too much detail because I've talked about it before, but it helps me know where I might need to bolster some races, and it helps me know where I've not got enough cover or where I may need to get some more cover. The long and the short of the view in here is these are my top paying returns for a single horse. Now, I talk about this a lot, that the majority of my bets I like to stake are singles. You can see that 70% of my bets, as it stands, are singles. So, although I say it's the vast majority, 75% of them, let's just say that for conversation's sake. You can see 71% of my stakes are live, so you can see from the 5 and a bit grand that I've staked, just under £4,000 of that is left, so I've already lost 29% of my stake before we even start. Now, I do have a few tabs in here that show different bits and pieces. We'll go through a few of those. I've got a tab in here that shows me my horse values. Now, this will duplicate potential counting of some horses. So if Honeysuckle and Shishkin are in the £50 double, they would be counted in there twice, but gives you a bit of a feel for the types of horses that have got the majority of my money on them, or at least the weight of money on them, and it's not exactly a surprise to see plenty of favs in there. Obviously, at some points in the season, they may not have been favourites, but the idea really is to get as much on at a small amount of like your stake at bigger prices, and then it pans out as it goes on. We've got the same thing for race values, so you can see which races I've really got stuck into. Again, these will fall in line with the horses that I've backed, in terms of, obviously, if there's more stake on Honeysuckle and she's running in the Champion Hurdle, there's going to be a lot of money going into that field. But then it gives me a bit of a feel as well into the handicaps, which ones I've stuck into. The any race markets, a couple of horses are still in there for that, and Golo's one of them. When their target gets confirmed, I'll update that. But you can see there's some races that I've not had as much on as others, and you get a rough idea of, across a race, how much I might be staking anti-post towards it. Now, I will potentially be having some bets on the week. Normally, day 1, day 2, I try and sit back fairly quiet. I've got everything that I need. We've got the 40-hour decks. It's handy for that. But I might have a couple more on Wednesday, see how the first day rides. But normally, Thursday, Friday, I find it's more competitive races, so I might stick a few more bets on. But obviously, that's the future. Can't predict the future, so I can't tell you what I'm going to back unless I've already backed it. So everything's been put in. This is the big pointer that I'll come on to in a moment, because that's almost the warts and all part of it, of telling you where my position is, but you guys are wanting to be looking at bets potentially. So what we'll do is, if we skim through each race, and I'll do it fairly quickly because I'm conscious that it's me waffling about other stuff, but you might be interested. And I feel like if I go through race by race, then you are seeing warts and all of it. So this option that pops up here, this is a race by race view. So we'll go straight onto the Supreme. It's got the 3 options at the top. So the live stakes, the lost stakes, and then combined stakes. So obviously that's how much I've staked in total, the combined stakes, and then obviously the lost and how much is live. The percentage chance that's calculated here is worked out on the current odds of these horses, so what percentage chance they've got of me getting the winner of the race, and then the payout percentages are worked out. I'm using like a block to get these percentage chances in here, but these are accurate percentages. The lowest payout off of my total stake of 135, if For Pleasure came in, for example, for 200 quid, works out as about a 1 to 2 poke, and then the highest payout I could get works out as about 11 to 2 poke. So if you think that I've got a 9 to 4 chance, and I've got a few in here, bar For Pleasure, that pay out better than the 9 to 4 chance, then from a positional perspective, I've done okay. You can see, beating the prices on all of these. The only reason why that is amber is because it sits in between these percentages, and that's because I haven't staked them all to be the total amount back. So what I mean by that is I could stake X amount to win £1,000 off of every single horse. Sometimes I might do that in some races. I might want to win £500. Other horses I might put a bit more on because I fancy them a bit more. Now, I appreciate it. You would have seen was in my list. He is in no singles. I missed the boat of him. I thought he was a stayer. So he's in multiples, which we'll come on to slightly later. But this is my singles for the race. And then you'll see some prices that I've backed him at, how I've got spread across them. This forecast festival winners at the bottom takes into consideration every single horse and all of these cumulative percentage chances. And then for every 100%, that counts as a winner. So, in theory, of the 28 races, this bet load is suggesting that on the current available odds of all of these horses, which is listed over here, we'll see this as we go through each of the races, potentially, if everything ran as it should, I should get 18 winners. Now, the caveat with that is bookmakers are betting over round, aren't they? So 20% of it is over round. If you wanted to turn it back, then you can take probably 17% off of it. So in there, let's just say we took a little bit out of it, take 20% off of it, 3.6 winners or something like that. I could get 14, 15 winners, what I'm expecting. So sounds bullish, doesn't it? Arkle, this is a better representation of what the stakes look like. Now, there's lost stakes that are in there. Energumene was basically some of the lost stakes. I can't remember who else there was, but I can dig them out from lost bets, but that's not the point of this one. But we can see that I've staked 265 in total on this race. Relative odds chance-wise, obviously I've only got Shishkin, so it's 1 to 2. 66% chance of getting the winner, but the actual returns from £265 off of the 825 works out as just over a 2 to 1 shot. So basically, I'm going to get paid 2 to 1 on a 1 to 2 shot because I've backed him far out. So nice position to be in there for the Arkle, despite not having any cover, and that's what I like to get on these anti-post bets. I like to get lots of cover in there. I did have a bit on Energumene. I backed Felix Digi right at the start of the season, but that obviously fell by the wayside, and I haven't really felt the need to want to get cover. I mean, now that we're sat here the day before the festival, regardless of the fact that he's a 1 to 2 poke, and he should absolutely hack up. Arse is twitching, basically. Next race up is the Ultimate Handicap. Now, again, if you look at the options on the side, this shows for each horse. If it's green, I've beaten the price. If it's amber, it's the same. And if it's red, I've not got the price. But staking-wise, again, just because it's not perfectly split to get the same amount, it's amber, basically. It's going to fall in between these bits here. But you can see from percentage chance-wise, like I've got just over a 50% chance, and then the lowest payout is around about an even money poke. So I'm not far off of this being a green book, which I'm fairly happy with. Only a small amount of lost stakes as well. Happy Go Lucky, he was a horse to follow, so he's backed right at the start of the season. You can see I'm on him at a reasonable price. I think Discordantly, if it can jump, can go okay. I mentioned Milan Native before, one for the team. I'd actually backed him at slightly bigger prices, chopped it, and then I went back in again, but hey-ho. Now, I'm not saying that I'm guaranteed to get the winner in that race. Lieutenant Rocco would be a horse that I would have liked to have seen come in. I think plenty would as well, but fairly nice position to be in. And obviously the lowest payout is around about the percentage chance that I've got, and then the highest payout is 12 to 1ish, isn't it? And that's obviously for Happy Go Lucky. So fairly good position in that race for a handicap. Obviously always need some luck in there. Now the Champion Hurdle, right, this is one that I have used the bet loader to sort of make the race an okay race, basically. Now, there's obviously options when you bet with horses that you could back them, you could lay them on the exchanges, you can arb, you can trade, you can do all different bits and pieces. But for simplicity, I'm just backing with some bookies. In this race here, the Champion Hurdle, you can see we've got Abracadabras at 14s as an average odds. We've got Honeysuckle as an average at 6 and a bit. Epitant, that was in a special, so the staked odds are a little bit higher, but it's the way that I put them in my bet loader, because the risk was there applied. Saudi was a long-term out punt, so that's poor dead money really anyway. And then you'll see that I have put Goshen in here despite how much I argue with Daryl. And then Charger's got a little bit of a squeeze as well. Now, how this panned out in the end was I didn't have anything on Goshen and I didn't have anything on Sharjah. and I'd staked 212.50. Now I was thinking maybe Saudi will come out. That chops it down to 200 quid's worth of staked, but he is still in. But say it was £200 worth of staked, I could just stick 50 quid on Goshen, couldn't I, at fives, or 4-1, which is what I have done. And then that means that the race itself pays my money back if Goshen wins, and then some bits of profit further up. So I just did that. And obviously with him being a 20% chance, that increases this number up here greatly. So, I mean, there's obviously other horses in the race, but from representative odds that they currently are, I've got a 91% chance of getting the winner in this race. And obviously if you look at it, Sharjah's a small loss, Goshen's a tiny loss. I mean, Saudi ain't doing anything, so don't worry about him. Epitant's a tiny bit more, but then Abacadabras and Honeysuckle pay well in this race as singles, but there's always the bits we'll come on to later, which are multiples where things are going on there. So Honeysuckle was my biggest covered horse, full stop. You can see in here from those average odds, got about a ton on her. It ain't that wasn't the amount that was in that front bit, was it? It was nearly 300, so she'd be a better winner for me anyway. Longer term, Mare's Hurdle, the only bet I've had in this is Dame de Compagnie, just because the price was too big. You could see that she was coming for this race. So, again, the way that this race has panned out, there's some lost stakes in there from other horses that I've backed. The combined stakes there pull me up to 70 odd quid, and representative payout off of that means that I should get 7-1 about the horse, which is what we're getting. Ish. The lowest pay, it's just over that, and it's 8.1. So the reason it's green is because I've just about beaten the price on that, despite having some losing bets in there. That'll become more prominent when we look at the Mare's Chase. National Hunt Chase. Now, Galvin. A lot of people told me about him when he was 20s, while back, to back him for the National Hunt Chase. I just didn't really want to get on the bandwagon with him. You'll see again in the multiples, he's in a few little muggy multiples, but away from that, I feel like I've done okay on the race in terms of cover. Next Destination was one I put up on Anti-Up. Obviously, he's very short now. Nesta Park, I still... he ain't going to be winning it, but I thought he had a bit of a poke. I thought he'd run him anyway. Lord Royal, I put in a bigger price. Soldier of Love will be about the same price, but I just felt like if Next Destination didn't come in and the ground was quick, Soldier of Love, I don't know. Maybe he might shorten up a little bit. Nice to get some cover. It's not expensive to chuck him in. And then Escaria 10, to be fair, after it ran behind Eclair de Rire, I thought it was a National Hunt Chase type horse. Then the whole Musselburgh thing happened where it came over. The handicap might look light, and I sort of forgot about it a bit, really, for National Hunt Chase, and just really left it because I didn't really know where he was going to be going. In hindsight, I should have put a bit on when he was a bigger price, but I just decided, you know what, I'm going to suck it up. Combined stakes there are about 200 quid. As I say, I got Galvin and a few multiples, so I just thought, you know what, I'll have a few quid on him at 11-2 on the machine, and it turns him into a profitable horse in the race as well. So got that race fairly well covered. You can see the representative payout there is an 8-11 chance. The only reason it looks amber is because Escaria 10 is just a tiny profit. You can see everything else above that gets bigger, and then you look at Next Destination, who is second fav, so in theory the most likely of all of these to win. I know I backed him at 22s, but because I've got that cover, it works out still like a 7-2 payout for him, so pretty happy with the National Hunt Chase, to be honest. Juvenile Handicap, I know these are in the wrong order, but oh well. The Juvenile Handicap, I've poked too many in this race, to be honest. A lot of these I'd backed non-run and no bet. I mean, sort of half hoping that some of them might not come here. Definitely wouldn't be my strongest race for fancy and stuff in here anyway. I mean, stake-wise, I've still put a reasonable amount on. There's 140 quid's worth staked really in there, but I just don't fancy the couple at the front of the market because I'm not sure about them. Might need a little bit of luck, but it's not one that I'll be getting too excited about. And they're in a couple of block bets, but overall, this race on its own hasn't got that much cover in it, so who cares? But again, the relative odds chance, you look at it there, it's 2-1 pokish. I got a couple that do okay on there. Druid's Altar, Sage Advice, I did quite like. The rest of them are a bit bad punting, to be fair, but hey-ho. Baddymore, done all right in this race. Got all the three big ones at bigger prices. Bob Oninger, I've got in some multiples at 33s as well, I think. But just fairly simple one. This one was I've just played those three at the right prices. I fancied Optimised Prime before he was going to run in the Leamington Novices Hurdle at Warwick, which he didn't run in, and then he's been pants since, so I'm stuck with that bet because it was put on Hills, couldn't do anything with it. Oh well. In terms of the actual bet itself, now the race, there are some lost stakes in there from anti-post horses that have gone by the wayside, but I've got a 1 to 9 chance. I've got a 90% chance of getting the winner, and the lowest payout's 9 to 4, and the best payout's just under 7 to 2. So you'd be fairly happy with that. Obviously, that best payout being just under 7 to 2 is for Optimised Prime, which isn't going to happen. But Brave Man's Game at 700 quid, it still pays 100 to 30. So, Baddymore by the bollocks, basically. RSA, haven't got Monkfish in here as a single. He was 10s at the start of the season when he's in a few multiples. I did have him as some single. I chopped and changed and fanning about. But the two that I've got him for some cover, Big Breakaway, I think a lot I've got him from the summer. Second fav now, he's 33s, he's on the book. And Eclair de Rire, I put him up for the National Hunt Chase on Anti-Up. Suggested after the race from the trainer that he was going to go Festival Chase or RSA. I did mention on the next episode of Anti-Up what I'd done, which was to cash out the profit from the bets before, because obviously shortened for the National Hunt Chase, and then to stick it onto this race. So that's how those relative odds have been worked out, with the fact that I cashed out and moved some money across, even though I think I backed him about 25s. But anywho, got them two in there, but Monkfish would still be the best one for me in that race, but not a bad bit of cover to have him behind. Coral Cup, you see there, I've got Grandmoire at a reasonable price. Botox Hat, fairly happy with him at the price. Thomas Darby, that was when I did the preview with Scotty. I felt obliged to back him there. Craig Neave still thinks got a bit of a chance. And Sneaky Getaway. Unfortunately, Sneaky Getaway, someone mentioned him in the comments in one of the videos about him being plotted for this. I looked at him again. Just sort of left him a little bit because I thought, you know what, I can back him nearer the time. I was watching the exchanges as the declarations were coming in today, and he was 75 on the machine at one point. And I was going to have a fiver on him then, but instead I've had 15 on him at 25. So it's cost me a tenner more to do it, but that's where I'm talking about the price golfs. As much as 75-1 to 25-1 is a huge difference, in the grand scheme of all of this, it's the stake of a tenner, isn't it? And when my book is £5 worth of bets in there, normally £25 is what I'd back on something as like a bet in. I might obviously do it more than once. So we're talking about 0.5% is like an entry point. So when it's costing me an extra tenner to put something on, I know they all start to add up, but doesn't bother me so much. That's where it's just important to remember that what your unit stakes are going to be. If you're going to be building hundreds and hundreds of bets into an anti-post portfolio, and you are wanting to build a portfolio, you need to be able to follow it up. You can't get to a month or nearer to the festival and not be able to sustain the bets. So you can start off very small to build yourself in a nice position. Queen Mother's absolutely nothing in there. Got Shackleton and some multis. Cross Country, absolutely nothing. Got Easy Sland and some multis. Grand Daniel, I mentioned it with the Jamie thing yesterday. A bit annoyed. I can see why they've done it and they've made the right choice, but a bit annoyed that Eldorado Allen hasn't come here, because Tizar gave him a bit of a shout. I think form-wise, when he beat Zanzer at the beginning of the season, and even he's run the last day behind Shishkin, like he's much better than his official rate, and I think he should have come here, but he wasn't lost because it was non-run and no bet. You see the combined stakes there, just over a ton, which is still a reasonable amount, but in the scheme of what I might have on some other races, it's not too heavy. Zanzer was more a bet because I felt like he was going to shorten. I just wanted to get an interest on him. That's why he is the lowest payout in here. I do think Us and Them's got a chance. Chosen Mate I've backed now because Gainford's on him. Matt messaged me about him and just said, let's just get him in. And then in Tukas and Embittered, I've bet them at bigger prices before. And Shooter I backed because Nicholls said that he was coming here, and again, half thought that he might shorten up a little bit. Look, I'm in an okay position in that race. Again, looking at this from percentage chance and lowest payout, we're not far off being a green book here. But it's not a worldie of a race for me, and a handicap like this isn't going to be the be all and end of the festival for me. I mean, no race will be. That's the point of the bet loader. Right, move on to the champion bumper. Stevie G, Sir Gerhard. I have got in some multis, so don't worry about him, but I'm not on at the fancy prices that Matt and other people are, the 33s. Start of the season. But away from him, Ramillies, I mean, I know that you need to win your bumper before you come here, so Ramillies probably can't win a bumper, but I still like Ramillies, so I've got the opportunity to trade some of that money out, but I'll leave him. I can't be asked to arb some horses. I'd rather be an all or nothing kind of person. I'll just let some go. I know it's punty, but hey ho, I'm just a regular guy. Kilcrip, we're on at okay prices, and then Cool Jet, just the breeding in it. Daryl mentioned her, and I just thought, you know what, for the sake of sticking a tenner on something, I think that's best odds guaranteed as well, but doesn't really matter. It doesn't make too much difference to the book. So you can see stakes are low on here, just under a ton. Representative chances an 11 to 8 poke. Lowest payout, even being Cool Jet, is a 5 to 2 poke. Best payout, ain't going to happen, is it, Remedies, but still 6 to 1-ish poke. And then should the worst happen and Sir Gerhard wins, he's a 2 to 1 poke. That's 33% chance. That moves this up to 75% chance. So race by the bollocks again. And then he sets up a load of multis, which we'll come on to in a bit. Marsh, very much like the RSA. Monkfish is the winner of that, but I've got a bit in behind. I backed Fuser, Raffles and Chantry House at the start of the season, any race. So they've ended up in here. If they both run against each other, of course, that is. But I don't care. Like, that's the bit of cover that's in there. I don't think I've got a bad-ish position with him being in there. The £20 loss stake was easy work. You can see the stakes are low on this race, considering we've got something like Envoy in here. But if we go back to the bit before we saw the horses, you'll see Envoy's got plenty of cover on him. Sort of is what it is, that race. Pertemps, I do like Champagne Platinum. I do agree with people that we don't know if he's going to stay. I do think he's better than his mark. He may be better than his mark over a different trip. You can see I've had a few quid in here, and you can see I've had some lost stakes. Unfortunately, the ill-fated, the late Mohamed pass. There's not a lot you can do about that. And in the grand scheme of me betting and losing 25 quid, it's irrelevant when a horse loses its life. So just like it is what it is. We've got a few horses in here that I think have got bits of chances. Again, Mrs. Milner was just back because same as Dublin Race Festival, everyone was going to talk about her. I don't think she wants the trip myself, but I'd rather get her in the book at a bigger price. Come on, Teddy, I could have backed him at a bigger price. I think he needs soft all over. I think I felt like the connections were going for a pot before Cheltenham. That didn't play out. So, I don't know. Not 100% sold on him, but again wanted to get him in. Milliner right down the bottom. I not even sure if that is going to get him, but I give that a bit of a squeak. And Spirit of the Games, I think form-wise looks quite good. So again, lowest payout considering I've staked so much. These ones are sort of covering the stakes, aren't they? But Champagne Platinum would be a nice one for me. And again, when you look at potentially a 50% chance I've got in there, and I've got the chance to make a reasonable payout off of him. It's not the worst position to be in, but not the greatest. Typical handicaps for me, innit? Ryanair, not too bad in here. I still do think that I'm going to have to put some money on Min. So where I was talking about having bets as the week goes on, I've got a feeling I'm going to have a little steamboat on Min at some point. I'll see what happens with him price-wise. I think all the other guys will be a bit more fancied. See what happens with him in the morning, even closer to the race as well. But I think I'm going to get Min in the book. But from a perspective here of the race, like Sam Crow, again, might get nibbled nearer the time. Mellon, I've only backed him here because he probably is going to come here. I'd rather he went Gold Cup. I've actually chopped him from my Gold Cup bet, so they're all classed as dead bets. Fakir, I had him at 33s, cashed, and then played after, so missed a bit of a price there, unfortunately. And then Alaho, I just backed him because I knew that he'd end up being short. Well, not short, but shorter than he was. So, again, from a percentage book, I've done all right there. It's only 100 quid on the Ryanair. It's not a race I like to get too stuck into. It's not even in that many multiples either. But I've got a better chance because I've backed these horses anti-post. So not bad on there. Stairs Hurdle looks all right to me. I know the reality is it's a 5 to 4 poke whether I do actually get the winner in this race or not because I've only got the two in there. And that is as exciting as it gets me in the Stairs. I had Time Hill. He's the lost £25. That's all out on him. But yeah, I'd like Paisley. Paisley's in a few multiples. Fury Road, I backed him any race at the start of the season. Then when we found out he was still never hurdles, I backed him again. Not even 100% sure that he is going to come over for the race. They talked about not doing it, but I think they will now. Hopefully they do anyway. So yeah, we'll just have to see how that one plays out. But I'm not disappointed in the Stairs, but I was never going to get too deep into the race. Stable play, I've backed a few in here. Haven't put the price in for Sully Dock. I'm not sure what he is. I'm going to just put 33 just for the sake of making myself look bad on here. But a couple I like, and again, price-wise, I could see him shortening. So Caribbean Boy, I thought he'd shorten a little bit. I do still think Cotillion Breed's got a chance if he declares. Sully Dock, I'm really, 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 really interested in now, if they do declare him in here. Dead Right's the other one for JP. He's right down the bottom. I don't think he'll get in. You never know, but he's another one that's semi-interesting. But Phil Dudery, again, just thought he'd shorten up a little bit. And Farclas backed him a little while out. I kind of thought he was going to be a Kim Muirish horse, but not a race that I'm overly keen on. And again, not one that will be a massive amounts of multis, but you know me, I like to have an opinion, so we've had a bet. Mares Novice Hurdle. Gauloise, I've mentioned this in the last two things I've done, one with Jamie and one with Darryl, that there's been noise, I guess is the best way of saying it, and suggestion of the exchanges that there's something up with Gauloise. That's sort of almost fallen by the wayside because there'd been a bit of money for her. Not that there's loads of money in that market on the exchange anyway. While I'm talking, I'm going to grab Betfair up on my phone so I can just see it. But there is the percentage chance here that Gauloise will drop out. The cash outs have been suspended with Bet365. If they were available, I would have been tempted to chop some of it. I'm in too deep on her anyway. I should have probably traded some out a little while back. But I got 62.50 on her. So should she not run, obviously the stakes will remain the same, but the percentage chance drops a bit. Being a 9 to 1-ish poke, then that'll take that 10% chance away. So just bear that in mind if she doesn't come. But she's in the book. Glens of Antrim, you can see we've backed at a very big price. Just breeding on her. I think she's a niece or something to Glenn's Melody that obviously won the race, and a full sister to Manella Melody who was fancy with the race last year. So being with Willie Mullins and under the ownership of JP, I just thought you could take a punt on her at a big price. The Glancing Queen I do like for this. She's one I backed a long, long way out. Who knows if she's good enough. Hook Up, I sucked into the hype like everyone else. Second season novice. Matt said after she ran that race the last day, 20s was an offensive price on her, so got her in the book. And then Royal Kahala, don't really like her, but again, I wanted to just get her in the book to sort of cover myself out a little bit. As it stands, Gaudoise is 30 to lay on the exchanges and 13.5 to back, so still a lot of uncertainty about her. But yeah, from a betting perspective, near 200 quid's in there. If we look at the bottom two that are almost stake coverers, and we forget that Gaudoise is in here, then we've got the Glancing Queen Glens of Antrim that could be going for a few quid. Like, it's not the strongest position I'm in, but you can see I've beaten the price on a lot of them. I've lost some stakes, which has caused it to be more closer to Amber anyway. It's an okay race in it, but not one to get too excited about. It is really good, though, that the mare's scheme is working, because the mare's hurdle itself looks deep this year. I know Concertise is probably going to win, but even behind that, there's lots of 140s mares. This mare's novice looks quite good this year, so it's all starting to come together. Kim Muir. Run Wild Fred managed to cash him. Happy days. But 150 quid that's on this race. I really, 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 really fancy Time to Get Up. He'd be another one that I might steam on the day. I say steam, I might have 50 quid on him or something like that. But I think he could go off real short. I just want to see how that money comes around from nearer the time. Like, he just ticks the boxes for trends, and he just looks like the right profile for the race. Quite like him. Shanty Fly, I'm just sucker for him. Backed him when he got beat by Kustar Savola. As soon as Nicol said he was coming, had to back him. Plan of Attack, backed him last year for the race. Henry de Bromhead mentioned he was coming. The Christmas run wasn't too bad, so again, wanted to get him in the book. Hold the Note, when me and Daryl were chatting, he sort of made me feel like I needed to back him, which is, I don't mind having him in the book. And Bob Marler, just off the run last year, I'll give him a bit of a squeak, so again, get him in the book. As happy as I would be with a Kim Muir anyway, I might smash Time to Get Up, I think, but other than that, that's where I am. Triumph, got some lost stakes in there for French Azir. I managed to cash some for a profit, which isn't factored into the bet loader, but by the by, 100 quid staked on the Triumph. Again, you see with the two juveniles, they're not races I get overly involved in. Taxamax, don't even definitely know if he's going to run or not, but at the price, with connections before he ran the last day, before he was far too keen, I thought I'd just get him in the book. And then Zana here, made a bit of a boo-boo with him. I backed him at 6-1. And then when the Elliott Gate was going on, there's just a couple of bets I had where I'd backed. I think I had 50 on Zana here at 6s. I think I could cash him for 80 quid or something like that. And I don't know, a bit of a brain fart really. I was just worried what was going to happen with some of these bets that weren't on non-run or no bet. And I moved Zana here, and I moved an Envoy Shishkin double as well, which I regret. But I did those two and then just stopped. Just we all know what it's like nerves and stuff flap. I'm much better than I used to be with it. Like, I used to always get really paranoid, especially when the equine flu came in. I chopped so much off some horses that year, but never mind. Could be in a better position this, but even with all that said, got a 40% chance of winning the race. 7-4 is my lowest payout, which is Zana here. And then the representative highest payout is 9-2. But if Taxamax doesn't come here, that'll bring the stakes down. That'll make the representative payout go up a little bit. So I'm in an okay position, I think, in the race. County Hurdle, there's a few in here there's a few more that I could back. Gowl Road's probably one that I'm going to back. Ganapathy, Matt's telling me he's going to win, so I've had to back him. Cade Boy, I kind of like him for a line with another horse, which is Fleur. Eclair de Beaufort would be the one that I'd be tempted to want to back strong. I was unlucky in this race, unseated behind Cheetah Bello. Got a couple of seasons under his belt since then. He's much better over fences in terms of rating. I think he just looks a fairly good thing in here, but Gowl Road's another one I quite like. 50 Ball, I give him a bit of a chance. See how that race pans out, but is what it is. Albert Bartlett, I backed plenty in here. People will see that I like to get stuck into this race. You can see I've beaten the price on the ones that I have backed, so yeah, you go me. Streets of Doyen, I backed him. The trainer, McConnell, had something else. Make Good, confirmed that wasn't going to make Cheltenham, and then said that Streets of Doyen will go. So a friend of mine was mentioning that, and we thought, at 40s, he's probably going to go shorter, and if the ground dries up, that could work for him. Fakira, I know it's fairly obvious to see what he's been doing in his races, so got on him at 25s. Statler backed him at 40s. Vanillier I've backed more recently. The Cobb, before he was going to be supplemented, I thought if he gets supplemented, he's going to shorten. I think he needed slower ground though, so maybe balls up a tiny bit. And then Barbados Bucks, there's just been so much talk about him. I just wanted to get him on the team sheet more than anything really, which is why he is on there. Now, because this is the Friday, some of these horses are in multiples, most notably Statler, so they could be running for a lot more on the day, but I'm pretty okay position with that, fairly happy with the Spud race as it goes. Gold Cup wouldn't be one that I massively get stuck into. You can see there's some lost stakes in there, unfortunately. Melon's a chunk of that. Delta Work, I don't think I got out of that one either. And right at the start of the season, about top of the game. So when you're 70 odd quid down before you've actually backed a horse that's going to run in a race, you're going to struggle to make a good position out of it. But Albon was on a boost on Betfair. He's in loads of multiples. I just backed him because I had some money in that Betfair account that day. Froden, I can't have the fact that he's going to go off double figures, so I just wanted to get a score on him for the sake of it. And then Santini, just had 25 on him as soon as the headgear bit came out, because again, I could see him shortening a little bit, and why not? But I don't know. I don't really bet too much in the Gold Cup unless I really fancy one. I might have a few ACCAs that roll up, but not this year. Well, I say that. You'll see when we look at the ACCAs. Fox Hunters, keep it simple. £25 lost on Alone Among Millions. I put that up on Anti-Up. That was poor. Stakes 75 quid in the race. Payouts fairly balanced. Got first and second fav. Got a 6 to 5 chance of winning, and I get paid at 4 or 5 to 1 if one of them wins. So can't argue with that. Martin Pipe, Fleur mentioned obviously. Galopin de Champ I do really like. I think when you look at the rating that he's been given over here, £3 higher than Gentleman de Me. And on there, I know it's just another person's rating, but off the rate imposed ratings, there was £16 between them. I think Galopin de Champ's got more about him than the other one. I think he's still too big a price as he is now. So I've already got him backed. Eglantine de Sceaux was another one put up by somebody else in a blog talking about profiles for races. And again, Nichols confirmed that she was probably going to come here. Don't know whether she actually would or not, but felt positionally like to put her in. I haven't even checked where she's going, to be honest, because she's so far off my radar, but hey-ho. Fire Attack, I think, has got a squeak in here for sure. I've had a tenner on him, as you can see, 33. I fancy having a bit more on him to stock up. We'll see what happens with the final decks. And again, we've got form from the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that could feed into this, so there's plenty of time to back some stuff. Dallas to Picton was a poke a while back, and then Gabaneko again, another one that was a poke a while back. I just felt like the form around that horse's runs was sort of working out. And then Mare's Chase, look at the lost stakes. Benny, I managed to cash some Benny as well. It's a sad thing, and I made not profit off of Benny full stop, but I made some profit off the ones that I staked. But yeah, she's poor. Got £25 live on Shattered Love. I got a few multiples of Ellie Mae in. Blech. Pointless race anyway now. So what we'll do is, I'm conscious that I want to try and keep this fairly short, but I also want to show you guys everything that's in here. So we'll move on to the next part, which is better to show you this. So I touched on the fact that I've staked 5 and a bit grand and that I'd lost 29% of that before it's even started. Now, I have actually put all the prices in, so I put myself in a better position. The reality is, to back the horses today at their current prices to win the same potential return, so that's all the singles, all the multiples, it would cost me nearly 9 grand to stake to get the same payout, which means from a pound stake difference, it would cost me basically 3 grand more to get the same potential returns back, which is a difference of 65%. So in theory, my stakes and growth to the festival as it stands now, to win the same returns, I know it's over round, it would have been before, it still is now, that's 65% in, like, it isn't return on investment because there's no money back yet, but you know what I mean. I'm saying that it would have cost me a few grand more. So I'm in a pretty fairly good position, I feel, and then because I haven't got too many horses that are the be all and end all, I feel fairly confident of another profitable year. I mean, I'd be very disappointed if I didn't, given this starting position, but you know, anything can happen. We'll skim into the bets per day, just quickly go through them. Again, there's only so much I can show. There's only so much you people can peel in there. But we'll just go from race by race. And we obviously looked at the horses as their singles. So this is put in alphabetical order for these horses. There is the facility within this tool to create a couple of views that show you just your horses on that day and just your bets that are on that day. This obviously covers everything that's going across a few days. But appreciate it. I haven't backed him singly. Got on involved with him after his first grade 1. Put him in a few multiples. He's not a bad result for me. Bally Adams, fairly decent. I talked about a couple of big price block bets I had him in. That's like a £2 bet that pays 1,700 quid from a while back. So he wouldn't be a bad result. Metier's in here as well. A bit further down. Again, no more cover from a single, but I've got some cover with some doubles. So like your Bob Oddinger Brave Man's game, I've got Metier at 25 going on to Bob at 10 and Brave Man's game at 6, I think, something like that. So there's options if Metier goes in. So basically, Supreme, I feel like I've got well and truly covered. Champion Erdal Honeysuckle was the one that I really wanted, but I've got that cover on Goshen anyway. Abracadabras and some of the others that I'd backed, they're just singles in there, but Epitance and a couple of doubles sort of is what it is. This is the Honeysuckle one where I was saying that she pays X amount for the result, but she's in quite a few other bets that roll onto things. So hopefully she goes okay. She's in there with Appreciate It, so again, that's going to be a cost that shows into her ones. And then Shishkin, that's going to go in the Arkle beforehand. Now, he's one that I backed singly a long way out, and I'm happy with that. And I've put him in with a couple of other horses. So this is the double I'm talking about that I chopped. I think it paid 475 before, so it cost myself 90 quid for just being a fanny. But I've got a few. That's a £5 free bet, I think, on Sky Bet. Fuck it, just an acca in it. Could pay £5 for Album 30 on the day. See how those first couple go anyway. But I didn't want to load into Shishkin and Honeysuckle because I've done it in years gone past where I just end up getting myself so loaded into a certain horse by backing it in so many variations that I try and just make sure that no single horse is going to make or break the festival. Concertista, as I said, I haven't backed her at all really. She's just in a couple of multiples. But yeah, day one looks okay. Now the Galvin one that I touched on, obviously I haven't backed him singly. I put him in a few bets. The funny thing is this bet that's got Galvin in is the same bet. And what I did is I picked out 5 horses, which is, as you can see on this line, Galvin, Monkfish, Sir Gerhard, Paisley Park, and Salsaretta. Don't really ask me about Salsaretta, but she's in there. So declarations for the Mayor's Chase come in on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. She might not be in. As it stands, she is, and she's still in the betting. So I've got reasonable cash outs. I did pound trebles, pound fourfolds, and a pound fivefolds. It cost me 16 quid. The £5 fourfolds are offering me 150 quid, I think. The trebles are offering me 180, and the acca's offering me about 40 quid. So from a stake perspective, they look fairly good. Now, we need Galvin to go in, obviously, because if Galvin falls out, then the majority of the bets go with him. But should Galvin go in, I've got the option then to see what the cash outs go up to. And if Salsaretta's not declared, I could potentially chop some, or I could chop some before she does that. The ones that are likely to win this are Galvin, Monkfish, Sir Gerhard, and Paisley Park. So I'm not going to be cashing out the treble or the fourfold bet just yet because, look, I could potentially win £4,000 off a quid. But he is obviously crucial to that happening. So I'll let this just go. I've got, like I say, off a 16 quid bet, I could probably cash out for 350 quid. But I'm not interested in that. I'd rather let this leg go and then just hope for a bit of luck. Obviously, Monkfish is the shortest price of all of them. So after Monkfish went in and Galvin, hoping, fingers crossed, if that worked out, then I've got an opportunity before Sir Gerhard goes in to look at the cash out on offer and maybe, because I've got the trebles, the fourfolds and the acca, slice some out. But yeah. And then I did do a Galvin and Paisley double, to be fair. But who knows? National Hunt Chase, like everyone wants these little dream weavers to come in, didn't they? But I'm a realist. I don't think any fourfolds will probably come in. They might, but that's why I prefer to play the singles like side of things. So next destination that race, but I've got the few in the race in there that look okay. Milan Native in the Ultima, I put him in with some Gigginstown, some Elliott horses again before Horsegate. But I've got them on reasonable prices. So there's just, I can't remember. That's 50 to 1 Fleur and probably 25 Milan Native. So wherever that stake is to get the double up in there. So probably only a quid in it. But there's Grandois in there at 20 odds as well. Or he might be 10s when we put these on. But anywho, Milan Native's in there with some novelty ones that we got there to go into the county. So although Happy Go Lucky would win me a chunk as a single, Milan Native could potentially set up some very, very interesting bets, especially if Milan Native and Grandois went in, because you've then all of a sudden got these few nutters running for you. But it's nice enough position to be in. Like, I feel okay that I've got some reasonable payouts and I've got some nice accas that might roll. And I also said on the mares, didn't I, about Roxana, that you can see in there, just put in a few bets. So Roxana, if she were to win the mares, then Envoy sending a grand onto Billaway. Bits of cover in there. So that's the Tuesday bits done. We'll move on to Wednesday, obviously, because it's the next day. The Ballymore, now, I got this race nicely sewn up in terms of the singles and the way that I've staked it. I haven't got too much in terms of extra doubles and stuff with them. That said, I've got the Baddy Adam going into Bob Ollinger, but for going forward, he's in there with Envoy for a bit. He's in there with Zana here for a bit, but really that's just a race in isolation where they all look quite nice. Hopefully we'll get a return out of it. Same with Brave Man's Game, like he's just in there, but we got him with Statler at 40s, I think. So who knows? There's a few of these little couple of grand ones knocking about in there where hopefully we'll get something at least running for it. Shakon's there, not too much on him from the front end. I've got him in with Shishkin and I've got him in with Monkfish. So when we go down to Monkfish, you'll see him in there again. Obviously, these are listed in the order that they're going in. We wouldn't have the same bet in there 3 times. Easy Sland, might be in something else as well, but just muggy bets really. And then there's a few novelty ones. Again, these doubles in the handicaps, more block bets and things that I've chucked in there that wouldn't really fuss me too much. But we'll go on to Monkfish because I haven't backed him as a single. You saw that on the first part. He's in with a couple of horses there. So the Monkfish Shakon pays okay. Even Monkfish, Paisley, Salsaretta. Now they're part of that treble bet that I put on. These ones here are part of those trebles and stuff we put on. We had Monkfish in there at 10s. So for the fact of trying to keep things alive, if Galvin does go down, then at least Monkfish starts these ones off. Not that they're going to do any good because Salsaretta is going to be dead in the water. But Galvin winning, you can see the difference between having maybe a couple of £100 or a £600 bet going on Cigar Paisley to having a few grand. Just interested in it. But none of them are going to make or break my festival. Just please remember that. Sir Gerhard in the bumper. I mentioned the fact that I've got a few backed in there. He's in a few doubles. This is rubbish. The Ryanair block that I did. That's Sir Gerhard, Paisley, Salsaretta again. Rubbish really, isn't it? Because Salsaretta's dead in the water. And then we've got a bit on Zanny here, Billaway, a bit on Envy, Barbados, Buck. So I haven't really got him covered with any confidence because so much needs to happen with other horses. Like it's not ideal, is it? But he's the sort of thing where I look at the bet loader now and I look at the bets back and I'll think to myself, do you know, like, do I want to stick him in a few bets? Like, do I want to have a couple of £20, £50 doubles? We have got Roxana going on to Sir Gerhard here for a few £100. We have got Metier there going on to Sir Gerhard for potentially a few £100. So we can wait that out until the day. So we'll wait till Tuesday's gone through, reassess Wednesday, and then if I needed to, I can have a bet on him or I can stick him in a few multis. But the point of having the bet load and being able to see it there in front of you is it does help, doesn't it? Make you realise where you might want some cover. That's probably enough chatter for the Wednesday. Thursday, a lot of bets, to be fair. Normally when I get to this far in the week, because the multiples will be starting on the Tuesday, then there'll be a few on the Wednesday. Obviously things are starting to die off a bit now. There's plenty of lines of entries that are in here, fairly single heavy. Again, it's going to depend on what's happened on the Tuesday, Wednesday, to how much money's rolling onto certain horses. I think by this point last year Paisley had £4,000 as a return back from him. Useless when you go and get beat anyway in it, but we'll see. Envoy at the moment's got nothing going as a single. Hopefully there's a few £100 going on to him from other bets. I'd hope is a minimum. And then, we'll just have to see how everything pans out with the rest of them. But I've backed most in the handicaps that I like. There are a couple more I might want to stick more on, like Sullydog AA. But again, I like to bet anti-post, but we're now in a point where, look, let's just see how the Tuesday goes. Let's see how the Wednesday goes. We've got time to play things in our position. And again, we'll see what roll-ups are happening. It's not a time to panic now, like the day before the festival starts, but it's nice to just see where you're at. And then, Friday, just lots of singles dotted about there. I feel okay with some of the bets that are in there. Like, I wouldn't be overly confident of clawing back a tragic week on the Friday if I needed to, but you're never going to find that on the Friday. Again, hopefully we'll have some nice accas and some doubles that are rolling up onto some horses that have put some more cash onto those. So that is literally my bets for the Cheltenham Festival, ladies and gentlemen. Just over £5,000 staked. I'd always say in my videos it's somewhere between £3,000 and £5,000, depending how things have gone in with the season. I choose to know that it's going to be that amount just because I've been making money at Cheltenham for, I don't even remember how many years it is now. I think it's 14 or something around there. It's well over a decade now. I've been saying that for the last few years. And it's doing it through the system. Now, I've had worse years in terms of position going into the festival. I've had better years. How the results are going to fan out, we don't know. But as it stands, I'd be very disappointed if I don't claw a reasonable return on investment on that. Like I'd expect to hopefully make a couple of grand on top of the stakes. Depends who comes in. Like we say, you can see they're happy-go-lucky on the first day. Like if we like, not saying this would happen, but let's just suppose we got some luck and happy-go-lucky Fury Road and Champagne Platinum all went in. You know, it's a chunk of cash in there without even looking at some of the more obvious ones. We do have the results calculator in here, so if we wanted to spitball, we can see how returns might play out. What probably was a smart way to just quickly have a look at this. We'll look at the top ones that are in there. Let's just pick the top 5 and go for them. So we've got Honeysuckle, Shishkin, Envoy, Monkfish, Appreciate It. I mean, very obvious all of those, aren't they? But let's just peel them in and we can see from here if they were to come in, how things plan out. So you see there, no single on Appreciate It. There's no double between those two either. So the only return there we see in the background is just a single from Shishkin. Who else did we say? Honey, didn't we, in the champion hurdle? So those 3 going on day 1 would be a couple of grand in the bank. Who were the other 2? It was Monkfish and Envoy. How could you possibly forget those 2, David? So Monkfish in the RSA. And again, this is just spitballing just to show what going there. So he wouldn't really be going for that much. Just be another £500 off the back of him. And then Marsh. So there wouldn't even be a chunk much more off of Envoy. So if my top 5 horses in there went in and they were the only 5 that went in, then it would be 3 grand back. But my position for a lot of the other races is we went through that individually, didn't we? Like I feel like I've got good chances, and the good overlying number that sticks and makes me feel with confidence is we saw that I've probably at current odds got maybe 18 winners in there. We're going to chop a bit of that down. Like I feel like I'm going to get plenty of winners just based on the percentage chance and the cover and stuff that I've got in there. Obviously the Baddymore, I've got like a 90% chance of getting the winner in there, and we haven't even included that in my selections I've put in there. I've got lots of cover in those races that we did put in. We just need to see how it goes. But like I say, this underlying fact, which is the new function that's in the bet loader, which if anyone's got it, it gives you the real view of where you're at. If you're back in anti-post, you don't have to be ahead of the game at this point. Like that is the aim, but it doesn't matter. You can still get yourself out of it. Just nice to see it in front of you to relay any fears. But it could mean nothing. But I will do a video at the end of the festival to show you what the returns were. Any extra bets that I peel in because of betting on the week, I'll factor them in. So I'll put a little nudge underneath about the difference there, because obviously these stakes will be different potentially by the end there. But I'll be honest with you, what I'm putting in and what I've backed. Fingers crossed we get a little bit of luck and one of these novelty couple of grand ones bump in as well. That's it. That's all I've got really, guys. I'm not doing write-ups this year for each of the races. I have done some stuff for each of the horses, but it's time and effort. And I know that sounds bad because it's stuff for you guys, but honestly, it's going to be another few hours each day to peel out those write-ups for people. And I don't feel like this year there's going to be the traction to get it back. If you've got any questions or ask me anything about any races, then send a message or drop it in the comments in here. I appreciate your guys' support. I really hope everyone has a decent festival this year. Just play it nice and safe. The first couple of days look, hopefully, touch wood, fairly straightforward. So I hope a few of us are in good positions. Thursday, Friday could potentially be a different beast. We just have to see how it goes. But again, thank you for watching. Thanks for likes, comments, subscribes, and see you on the other side.